before the imperial consort selection, I was diagnosed with pregnancy, and my family unanimously helped me conceal it. But at the royal banquet, my stepsister deliberately intercepted the wine for me. My sister is pregnant. She can't drink. Realizing her slip of the tongue, she hastily pleaded for mercy. Spare me, Your Majesty. My sister was drunk and violated by a scoundrel. She didn't lose her chastity intentionally. I beg Your Majesty to punish only the scoundrel. But please don't punish my sister. The emperor on the throne wore a stern expression. My stepsister raised her brows triumphantly, as everyone assumed the emperor would fly into a rage and execute me. In truth, the emperor was only worried I might miscarry from the shock. After all, the so-called scoundrel from that night was none other than the emperor himself. As the royal banquet drew to a close, it was customary for all to toast the Empress Dowager together. Just as I lifted my cup, my stepsister Jade Lu, seated beside me, suddenly knocked it over and declared loudly, "Sister, you're pregnant. You mustn't drink." Her words drew the gaze of the entire assembly toward me. Jade Lu immediately put on an innocent, trouble-making expression, slapping her own mouth with her right hand. How stupid of me. I misspoke again. I stared at the overturned cup on the floor. My cup had only contained plain water. Jade Lu had also just drunk from the pot. She knew perfectly well it wasn't wine. She whispered an apology to me. "Eldest sister, you won't blame me, will you?" At that moment, the Empress Dowager from the main seat pressed further. "What did you just say? Who is pregnant?" The Empress Dowager was over 60, her hair half white, but her spirits still vigorous. This matter should have been overseen by the Empress, but unfortunately, she had perished tragically alongside the late emperor in that palace coup years ago. The selection of the new emperor's consorts could only be presided over by the Empress Dowager herself. The Empress Dowager, Nigaiku, had been a formidable figure in her youth, and she tolerated no deceit under her watch. Jade Lu hurried to the center of the hall and knelt to reply. "Your Majesty, what I just said was, my eldest sister Luna Lu is pregnant." Her position was far from the Empress Dowager's seat. She could have easily claimed it was a slip of the tongue or a misunderstanding. Jade Lu didn't try to justify herself. Instead, she looked at me with unsettling honesty. "Sister, don't blame me." When the Empress Dowager asked, "I couldn't lie about your pregnancy. Luna Lu, as one of the emperor's chosen maidens, are you truly with child?" The new emperor was selecting his consorts, and like the noble ladies present today, I was a pre-selected maiden for his harem. To be pregnant before the selection was a grave crime of deceiving the sovereign. I quickly stepped forward and replied, "Your Majesty, this humble maiden is not pregnant. My sister spoke foolishly in her drunken state. Please do not take her words seriously." "I wasn't drunk," Jade Lu exclaimed loudly. "Sister, how can you still lie before the Empress Dowager at a time like this?" I glared furiously at Jade Lu. Jade Lu was the second daughter, born of a concubine, my stepsister by a different mother. 2 months ago, I had gone to the temple to offer incense. When I returned, my clothes were torn, and the chastity seal on my wrist had vanished. My parents were furious and demanded to know who had defiled me. Remembering the man's warning, I clenched my teeth and insisted I hadn't seen his face. By then, my name was already on the selection list, and there was no way to alter it. What devastated my parents even more was that 3 days before the royal banquet for the selection, the physician diagnosed me with pregnancy. My father was so frantic, he nearly fell ill. He initially wanted the physician to prescribe medicine to terminate the pregnancy, but the royal physician warned that I had been frail since childhood, and an abortion might endanger my life. Moreover, the selection was imminent. If I aborted, my weakened state would surely be noticed as soon as I entered the palace. It would be as obvious as hanging a sign proclaiming guilt. Left with no alternatives, my parents agreed that my loss of chastity before the selection must remain hidden, and I would participate as planned. They also instructed me to deliberately appear timid and clumsy during the selection, ensuring the emperor wouldn't favor me. As long as I wasn't chosen, there would still be room to maneuver. Once I failed the selection, they would claim I fell ill from heartbreak and send me to the countryside, where the matter of the unborn child could finally be addressed. After settling on this plan, my father repeatedly cautioned my second sister, Jade Lu, who was to participate in the selection with me. A great family prospers or perishes together. You must never breathe a word about your sister's loss of virtue and pregnancy, or you'll drag the entire Lu family to ruin. Jade Lu gave a solemn promise on the surface, yet at today's royal banquet, she deliberately overturned my cup and let the secret slip. She paid no heed to my warning glare and continued her accusation. Empress Dowager, this humble subject dares not deceive you. My sister is indeed with child. 2 months ago, when my sister returned from offering incense at Xining Monastery, I saw her lower garments in disarray, with suggestive bruises on her limbs and neck, clear signs she'd been violated by an outsider. Our whole family pressed her to name the scoundrel who defiled her, but my sister stubbornly claimed she couldn't recall the events of that day, much less the villain's identity. For her to shield that adulterer so fiercely, surely he must be her secret lover. I'm utterly terrified. Your Majesty, I cannot stand by while my sister attempts to deceive the emperor by presenting her impure body for the imperial selection. With my sister's exceptional beauty and talent, what if she's chosen by the emperor? Would she dare enter the palace to serve his majesty while carrying a bastard child of adultery? At these words, the Empress Dowager's expression changed dramatically. The noble ladies present all turned to scrutinize me, whispering among themselves, "How audacious! Is she trying to pass off her unborn child as the emperor's? This is the grave crime of deceiving the sovereign. Does Luna Lu have a death wish?" I protested loudly. "I beg to inform your majesty, this humble maiden is the emperor's selected consort. I've neither lost my virtue nor taken a lover, let alone conceived an illegitimate child. Sister still lies. If you've preserved your purity, then show your chastity seal to her majesty for inspection." As she spoke, Jade Lu first rolled up her right sleeve, revealing that vivid crimson chastity seal. The chastity seal is applied to a maiden's wrist at birth as proof of virtue. Once lost through impurity, it vanishes forever and can never be restored. Since Jade Lu was my own blood sister, her accusation immediately aroused the Empress Dowager's suspicion. Her Majesty ordered me to prove my innocence at once. I tightly gripped my right wrist and retreated 2 steps, only to be blocked by 2 burly matrons who seized my arms. My sleeve was roughly pushed up by the matrons, revealing a vivid chastity seal on my wrist. On the night the original chastity seal vanished, my mother had replaced it with a vermilion dot, hoping to deceive the inspection before the imperial selection. The forged chastity seal on my wrist appeared identical to those of the other noble maidens present. The Empress Dowager, seeing this, was about to dismiss her doubts when Jade Lu suddenly exclaimed loudly, "Empress Dowager, don't be fooled. Her chastity seal was forged by the Lu family. If you don't believe me, bring soapberry water." The Empress Dowager ordered soapberry water prepared, and Jade Lu dipped a handkerchief into it, ready to scrub the vermilion dot from my hand. I whispered furiously, "Jade Lu, have you lost your mind? Do you intend to drag the entire Lu family to ruin?" Jade Lu sneered, taunting in a voice only I could hear. "What shared glory or ruin? If I push you down, I'll surely be chosen as a consort. Then the Lu family will rise to prominence through me." "What nonsense are you?" Only then did I notice the orient pearl necklace around Jade Lu's neck, its luster unmistakably a royal gift. Jade Lu followed my gaze and touched the pearl at her throat. "Do you know why I'm not afraid of being dragged down by you? Because the emperor has already taken a liking to me. For the past 2 months, he's been sending me private letters, jewels, and even tonics to nourish my health." Jade Lu's face flushed with smug shyness. "I understand His Majesty's intentions. He wants me to regain my glow and come to the palace looking my best for him." My mind swirled with doubt. That day, at Xining Monastery, I had gone alone to pray, only to encounter that man, his senses lost to aphrodisiacs. Like a ravenous beast, he pinned me behind the monastery's sacred statue, pounding into me with frenzied abandon, leaving bite marks across my body. As I desperately struggled and pulled out a hairpin to kill him, I noticed the imperial dragon embroidery on his collar. In that stunned moment, a sharp pain forced a whimper from my lips. I watched helplessly as the chastity seal on my wrist faded until it vanished completely. After countless bouts of passion, when I finally opened my eyes again, the man who had ravaged me was now guiltily wiping my body clean. Seeing me awake, he said remorsefully, "I will take responsibility." "You are the emperor?" I was merely the daughter of a fourth-rank civil official. How could I have ever seen the emperor's true face? But Emperor Adrian was different. 2 years ago, Prince Liam staged a coup, imprisoned the emperor and empress, executed princes and princesses, slaughtered loyal ministers and generals, and even killed a group of historians, trying to silence dissent and seize the throne by force. The imperial capital was shrouded in fear, as dark clouds blotted out the sun. It wasn't until Emperor Adrian, who had been guarding the northern borders for years, returned with his cavalry to protect the throne, that dawn finally broke over the empire. Emperor Adrian swept through like a raging storm, beheading Prince Liam in the Grand Palace Hall, restoring order from chaos. Alas, by then the emperor and empress had already been murdered by Adrian's brother, and the deaths of the third princess, fifth prince, and seventh prince were even more gruesome. The royal house was disgraced, and remnants of Prince Liam's faction fled into hiding among the common folk, indistinguishable from the populace. To intimidate the lurking rebels, Emperor Adrian commanded all officials to kneel with their families, lining both sides of the palace gates upon his ascension, demonstrating their loyalty. Those who failed to kneel in submission that day were deemed traitorous remnants, executed without mercy. It was on that very day I first glimpsed Emperor Adrian's true visage, clad in silver armor, spear in hand, radiating triumphant vigor. In the 2 years since Adrian's coronation, some praised him as a savior and enlightened ruler, while others condemned his extreme methods as cruel and bloodthirsty. None of this aligned with the flustered man before me, yet he was undoubtedly Emperor Adrian. Adrian soon realized the more he tried to tidy the mess upon me, the more inevitable our skin made contact. Soon, footsteps approached from outside. I trembled slightly. Emperor Adrian picked up the cloak that had been flung to the ground and wrapped it tightly around me, then lifted me into his arms and carried me through the back door to the mountain behind the temple. He placed me into a simple sedan chair. "Today, I have overstepped. I will personally make amends to you. This humble subject dares not. I understand that your majesty was also deceived. I was not ignorant either." Emperor Adrian's earlier frenzied and uncontrolled state was clearly the result of being drugged. Emperor Adrian said, "I will give you justice. But until then, you must not reveal what happened between us today. This humble subject understands." Seeing my clarity, Emperor Adrian asked, "What is your name?" Had anyone else dared treat me this way, I would have killed them with my hairpin long ago. But this man was the emperor. I had no choice but to accept it. Yet I couldn't let myself suffer in vain. "My name is Liu Song Yu." I spoke my name, but my lips and tongue, swollen from Emperor Adrian's earlier biting, made me slightly slur the word "you." Emperor Adrian repeated solemnly, "Jade Liu, I will send someone to contact you." I wanted to correct him, but exhaustion overwhelmed me. Before I could speak, I fainted, only to wake up being carried back to the Liu residence in a sedan chair. Since then, I've been waiting, but in these 2 months, that damned Emperor Adrian hasn't sent me a single message. I lived in constant fear, enduring the torment of morning sickness. Meanwhile, Jade Liu kept acquiring new trinkets, often caught blushing over letters, and treasured her daily tonic so much she even got nosebleeds from overnourishment. Turns out, Emperor Adrian misheard my name that day, mistaking Song Yue for Jade Liu. Jade Liu became convinced she'd won the emperor's favor and was secretly chosen, which is why she tried to publicly destroy me today. Once your fake chastity seal is exposed, Lady Li who forged it for you, will also be punished. With you and your mother gone, the Liu family will belong to me and my mother. Once I'm appointed as a consort, my mother will receive a noble title. All the glory belongs to me, Jade Liu, while you, Luna Liu, will descend to the underworld bearing the disgrace of a harlot. Jade Liu gripped my arm, vigorously rubbing my wrist with a handkerchief. Soon, the fake cinnabar mark was completely wiped away. The crowd gasped in shock, and the Empress Dowager slammed the table in fury. Outrageous. Luna Liu, how dare you participate in the imperial selection with an impure body? Guards, drag Luna Liu away and execute her by beating. 2 guards closed in on me. I stepped back, instinctively shielding my abdomen. Just as I was about to fight back, desperately, a voice suddenly rang out behind me. The Emperor has arrived. At the announcement, everyone immediately turned and knelt to welcome the Emperor. Brother Emperor hasn't even taken consorts yet, and the harem drama has already begun. The speaker was Prince Noah, Xiao Ming, who waved a fan as he followed behind Emperor Adrian, his voice booming. Emperor Adrian wore a black dragon robe and a simple crown, unlike the extravagance of the late emperor. Emperor Adrian's nobility did not lie in his attire, but in the imperial majesty between his brows. When bowing to an emperor, one must lower their head to show respect. Yet this was only the second time I had seen him since he took my maidenhood, and I couldn't help but raise my eyes to gaze at him. He was striding toward me. The familiar scent of royal incense was dragging me back to the absurd memories of that day at Zening Monastery. He extended his large hand adorned with a jade thumb ring, the same hand that had once cradled me with utmost care. I thought he had come to rescue me and was about to reach out in response, but Adrian had already taken another's hand. Jade Liu, kneeling beside me, was personally helped to her feet by the Emperor. Adrian asked gently, "Jade, did you like the gift I sent you?" I stood thunderstruck, frozen in place. Jade Liu, overwhelmed by the favor, replied, "I did, Your Majesty. I loved it. Good, I chose it especially for you." The Empress Dowager inquired, "Your Majesty, have you and the Liu family's young lady been acquainted for long?" Emperor Adrian said, "Grandmother, last month when I was in danger, Jade Liu inadvertently saved my life." Jade Liu looked utterly bewildered. "What danger? What rescue?" "Jade, the situation was perilous that day. Thanks to you, I emerged unscathed." The Emperor said, "Oh, there's such a backstory?" The Empress Dowager asked curiously, "Miss Jade, what happened that day? Do share it with us all." Prince Noah chimed in eagerly, Yes. Where exactly was His Majesty in danger? And who were the assailants? Miss Jade, do tell us how you heroically saved the Emperor." Jade Liu's eyes flickered with realization. The Emperor's kindness toward her stemmed from a life-saving debt. But what was this life-saving debt? She had no clue whatsoever. Yet, quick-witted as ever, she feigned weakness and pressed her temples, saying, "The situation was so dire that day. On my way back, I even took a fall and hit my head. My memory is hazy, but I'm just relieved His Majesty is unharmed. As for what exactly happened, I truly can't recall." Prince Noah exclaimed, "How could you not remember anything about such a thrilling event?" I truly wish to recount the events of that day to everyone, but I genuinely can't remember." Just as she was struggling to keep up the act and nearly at a loss for words, Emperor Adrian suddenly spoke. "If you can't remember, then let it be. You were injured because of me, and I won't allow anyone to trouble you." "Emperor," Jade Liu coquettishly simpered. The other noble ladies present couldn't help but whisper among themselves, "Jade Liu actually has the merit of saving the Emperor. It seems she's certain to be chosen for the palace." Once Luna Liu, the legitimate daughter, is cast aside, the Liu family will surely elevate Jade Liu to legitimate status. Then, she can rightfully become empress by virtue of her life-saving favor. No wonder the second-born daughter dared to expose her eldest sister's faults at the royal banquet. She's already secured imperial backing. Watching Emperor Adrian fuss over the lying Jade Liu, I felt my heart wrench violently, my ears ringing. Jade Lu and I are half-sisters, sharing 5/10 resemblance in our eyes and brows. That day, Emperor Adrian was under the influence of a potent drug, his face still flushed with an unhealthy redness even after it was over. I thought he only had a problem with his hearing. Turns out he wasn't just deaf. He was blind too, having mistaken me for someone else entirely. Emperor Adrian exchanged only a few polite words with Jade Lu before bowing to the Empress Dowager and leisurely taking his seat at the head of the hall, lazily announcing, "Rise, my lords and ladies." Along with everyone present, I was permitted to stand. I was no exception. This man didn't spare me a single glance. Then, what was his promise worth? What of all the fear and hope I'd carried these past days, hidden beneath my sleeve, my hand pressed against my slightly rounded belly as I steadied my breath, shutting my eyes to suppress the burning tears? I couldn't lose composure now, or both my child and I would be doomed. Emperor Adrian's gaze swept over the crowd. What disturbance mars the royal banquet? Jade Lu, basking in the emperor's favor, was at the height of her arrogance as she immediately responded, "Your Majesty, it was I who discovered someone attempting to deceive you and exposed her publicly." Jade Lu's pride had soared so high that she even abandoned the humble address of your servant in favor of I. Emperor Adrian fixed his gaze on Jade Lu. "Tell me, whom did you expose?" Jade Lu pointed at me. "It was my sister, Luna Lu. She engaged in illicit relations before the selection, losing her chastity seal and virtue, yet dared to enter the imperial selection, attempting to deceive your Majesty." Emperor Adrian's gaze finally settled on me. The moment our eyes met, I saw only detachment and unfamiliarity in his. A sharp pain twisted in my abdomen, and my face paled instantly, noticing my sudden pallor. The Emperor's brow seemed to furrow slightly, but when I looked again, all I saw was his cold, impassive expression. The Empress Dowager asked, "The selected maiden has lost her virtue. How shall we proceed, Your Majesty?" Everyone was certain the Emperor would immediately order my execution, but then the Emperor lazily remarked, "A missing chastity seal doesn't necessarily mean lost virtue. What say you, Dr. Evelyn?" There happened to be a palace physician on duty. Coincidentally, today it was Dr. Evelyn, the only female physician in the Imperial Hospital. Dr. Evelyn stepped forward and replied, "Your Majesty, the chastity seal is typically applied to a woman's skin in childhood and naturally fades after consummation. However, over time, the seal may also fade for other reasons." As if prepared, Dr. Evelyn summoned 3 palace attendants on duty to serve in the palace. One must remain chaste. These 3 are seasoned attendants, yet their chastity seals have already faded. Please roll up your sleeves for His Majesty and the Empress Dowager to inspect. The 3 attendants rolled up their sleeves, revealing their wrists. 2 of them no longer had any trace of the seal, while the third, a dark-skinned matron, bore only a faint remnant of hers. The matron said, "This servant works in the floral bureau, tending to plants under the sun every day. Wind and sun exposure have faded my chastity seal." Another senior maid said, "This servant has been on duty in the imperial kitchen since the age of 6. The constant chopping and cooking wore down my wrists, and my chastity seal was rubbed away." The youngest palace maid said, "This lowly servant fell ill at the beginning of the year. Physician Sue prescribed medicine for me, but its properties conflicted with the chastity seal. After recovering from the illness, the chastity seal disappeared." Physician Sue said, "As Your Majesty can see, the chastity seal does not only disappear upon loss of virtue. Sun exposure, friction, or medication can all cause it to fade. The Compendium of Materia Medica also mentions that the claim of our marking is largely unreliable. In my early years, I witnessed many palace maids lose their lives after being deemed unchaste due to the disappearance of their chastity seals. The chastity seal is essentially made from crushed geckos and should not be equated with a woman's virtue. I beseech Your Majesty to discern the truth." Physician Sue's words were unprecedented since the founding of the Great Qi Dynasty. While everyone present was still reeling from shock and processing the revelation, The emperor on the throne suddenly addressed me. "Did you hear that? So what's your reason?" Unlike the vivid liveliness he showed at Zening Monastery that day, Emperor Adrian now wore an icy expression, unreadable in mood. Yet I understood his implied meaning. He had just improvised 3 excuses for me to choose from. Unable to decipher the emperor's thoughts, I knelt and seized the opportunity. "Your Majesty," as physician Evelyn stated, "this humble one has been frail since childhood and has long taken heart tonic. Presumably, the conflicting medicinal properties caused the chastity seal to fade." Before anyone could question further, physician Evelyn nodded in agreement. Indeed, ginseng counteracts cinnabar and similar substances. Many of the late emperor's consorts had relied on physician Evelyn's expertise during childbirth. None dared doubt her medical judgment. Since physician Evelyn has spoken, it must be a misunderstanding. The emperor waved dismissively. "No loss of chastity means no crime. Rise." My knees had barely touched the ground when he ordered me to stand. Unsteady, I nearly stumbled while getting up. Fortunately, the maid Jade steadied me. As I regained my balance and looked up, I caught Emperor Adrian swiftly averting his gaze. Seeing the emperor's stance, Jade Lu immediately accused. "She's lying. Her chastity seal vanished abruptly after returning from the temple that day. Even if the seal can't prove her impurity, her pregnancy is undeniable." Emperor Adrian's eyes turned sharp. "What did you say?" Confident she had caught me in a grave offense, Jade Lu declared loudly, "Emperor, my sister is 2 months pregnant. She intends to enter your harem carrying another man's child. This is deceit against the royal family, tainting the imperial bloodline." Emperor Adrian fixed his burning gaze on me. "You're pregnant?" I recalled his warning at the temple. "I came today to appease the souls of the late emperor, empress, and the royal children, so unless I permit it, our matter must never be revealed." Indeed, indulging in romance during a temple memorial ceremony would invite public censure. Thus, at this moment, I could neither claim the child was his, defying his decree and disregarding the greater situation, nor could I claim the child was someone else's. That would confirm adultery, a grave crime of deceiving the emperor. I was speechless in my suffering, scrutinized by the crowd's gazes, interrogated by the Empress Dowager and Jade Lu, caught between a rock and a hard place. My nerves were stretched thin, my chest aching as if struck by a fist. I suddenly bent over, my slender back arching as I cover my mouth, racked by violent dry heaves. The court physician gasped, "This truly resembles morning sickness." The emperor abruptly rose from his seat. Everyone assumed he would order my execution. None noticed the fleeting look of heartache and remorse in the emperor's eyes when he saw the redness at the corners of mine from the retching. Everyone saw it. "She is clearly pregnant." Jade Lu shouted excitedly, "Sister, how audacious of you to dare bring a bastard child to the imperial selection." I did not. Suppressing the discomfort in my chest, I weakly denied, "I have not lost my virtue, nor do I carry a bastard child. I would never defile the imperial family's dignity." "How dare you still deny it?" Jade Lu pressed aggressively. "I was sitting right beside you just now, and you kept eating the plums on the table, craving sour foods and morning sickness. Even physician Su confirmed it. How can you deny it?" "Exactly," said the Li family's young lady. "For the past 2 months, we've rarely seen Sister Songyu out and about. She used to be the most daring at polo matches, but lately, she's been holed up in her chambers. Could she truly be carrying a child?" The Lin family's young lady added, "Though today isn't the formal selection, it's still a royal banquet. Yet Sister Lu wears barely any makeup and a loose brocade robe. She really does give off the air of someone expecting." The He family's daughter chimed in. "Even in loose clothing, one can see Sister Songyue's waist has grown noticeably fuller." Seeing which way the wind blew, the crowd seized the moment, convinced Jade Lu would gain the emperor's favor for saving his life, and believing my belly truly held an illicit child. They all turned against me, both to eliminate a rival in the selection and to curry favor with the soon-to-be favored Jade Lu. Just as I was about to retort, my maid Jade stepped forward and knelt before the emperor to speak. spare my life. Your Majesty, my mistress is indeed with child. As her personal maid, I can testify to this. My mistress has missed her monthly courses for 2 months. Before entering the palace today, she even bound her belly with raw silk to conceal her pregnancy. Your Majesty is a wise ruler. I could not bear to see my mistress deceive the emperor so brazenly. I stared in shock. Jade cut me off. Don't blame me, mistress, after committing such a shameful act. I only sought to avoid being implicated in your crime and executed along with my clan. I exposed you to atone for my own sins. What fine atonement. Jade was an orphan I picked up from the streets, a trusted maid I raised for 7 years, only for her to turn on me like this. Jade, Lou smirked at me. No doubt, she had become Jade's new mistress now. When a wall crumbles, I'll push it. Even the eunuch who had served me at the banquet stepped forward and declared, Your Majesty, at the start of the banquet, Miss Lou specifically instructed the servant to replace the wine in her jug with plain water. I found it odd. Today, being a royal banquet, only the Lou family stood out by drinking nothing but water. Jade Lou sneered coldly. She only drinks water because she's pregnant and can't touch alcohol. Your Majesty, see how dearly my sister cherishes that bastard in her womb. As she spoke these words, basking in her favored status, she glared down her nose at me, completely missing the emperor's gaze. Sharp as blades, brimming with fury when she called the child in my belly a bastard. Cornered at every turn, my throat spasmed uncontrollably, and I cover my mouth again, retching dryly. I couldn't utter a single word in my defense. They had stolen all the lines. The Empress Dowager twirled her prayer beads and said, Whether she's with child or not, let Dr. Evelyn examine her. No need for all this fuss. If she is pregnant, drag her out and execute her. Emperor Adrian glanced at the Empress Dowager. Grandmother's Buddhist practice has truly cultivated a merciful heart. The Empress Dowager closed her eyes and said, This is to ensure the purity of the imperial bloodline. How can an unchaste woman be worthy of the royal family? Dr. Evelyn, examine her pulse. Following the Empress Dowager's order, Dr. Evelyn approached me. Miss Lou, please allow me to take your pulse. I tightly hugged my arms, my eyes red-rimmed, weak yet resolute as I spoke. Before proving whether I am pregnant, shouldn't Jade Lou first prove the existence of this so-called adulterer? Jade Lou retorted, Stop struggling. Once your pregnancy is confirmed, the emperor will naturally investigate who the adulterer is. If there is no adulterer, how can there be unchastity? If there is no adulterer, how can there be a bastard? Your accusations of my pregnancy are nothing but baseless slander. I stayed at home these past days to cultivate my character. I appear without makeup today simply because I did not wish to embellish my appearance before the emperor. As for this maid by my side, she is nothing but a traitorous ingrate. How can you trust the words of such a disloyal servant? I argued my case firmly, still clutching my arms tightly. Though Dr. Evelyn had received the Empress Dowager's order, he did not press me further. Jade Lou knew full well there was no child in my womb. Confident of her victory, she found my counterattack laughable. Sister, stop these sophistries. Must we summon our parents to the palace before you'll admit the truth? I smiled back. Speaking of sophistry, isn't it more apt to describe your memory loss about saving the emperor as such? I've been home these days. When exactly did you take that fall that supposedly damaged your memory? Jade Lou's flushed face turned deathly pale at my question. I tapped the table meaningfully. Was it truly forgotten? Or was the savior someone else entirely? Panic flashed across Jade Lou's face. Deeply unsettled by this line of questioning, she hastily changed the subject. Your Majesty, since my sister remains obstinate, I must now, however improper, expose the scoundrel who dishonored her. At last, the pulse diagnosis was avoided. I couldn't fathom the emperor's thoughts now. If Dr. Evelyn publicly confirmed my pregnancy, both my unborn child and I would face near certain doom. Our only hope rested on whether Emperor Adrian, that damned ruler, would remember I was the one who saved him. Fortunately, the immediate danger passed. and I exhaled in relief, though another sharp pain gripped my abdomen, which I endured silently. A gust of wind lifted my outer robe, revealing the subtle swell of my belly unmistakably to the Emperor's gaze. "Bring a seat," Emperor Adrian commanded abruptly. A chair draped with Arctic fox fur was carried forward by Imperial guards. "Thank you for your Majesty's grace." Jade Lu beamed and moved to sit, only to be yanked back by the guards. "What are you doing?" The guard stated. His Majesty granted the seat to Lady Songyue. Jade Lu gasped in disbelief. "Your Majesty?" As Emperor Adrian's eyes settled on me, two palace maids swiftly stepped forward to guide me to the chair. "Please be seated, my lady." "Your Majesty, why did you grant her a seat?" We noticed Lady Lu appears frail. "Is there any issue in permitting her to sit?" Jade Lu protested. "Your Majesty, but she has committed the crime of deceiving the throne." Emperor Adrian countered on my behalf. "What crime? She has neither lost her chastity nor been confirmed pregnant. What offense has she committed?" Jade Lu choked, unable to refute. The Empress Dowager interjected. "Your Majesty, this is improper." Emperor Adrian replied. "Grandmother, as a devout Buddhist, you should refrain from harshness." The Empress Dowager's opened eyes closed again as she fingered her prayer beads, murmuring indistinct scriptures none could decipher. Thank you, Your Majesty." Though surprised, my aching waist left me no room for hesitation. Before sitting, I bowed deeply toward the Emperor in solemn gratitude. Before my waist could bend fully, Emperor Adrian raised a hand, silently waving the formality. Stunned momentarily, I was then assisted by two palace maids onto the royal gift armchair. It was a cool autumn day, and the Arctic fox fur on the recliner was soft and warm. The moment I sat down, the discomfort in my abdomen eased slightly. A sachet hung from the chair, its medicinal fragrance wafting out, inexplicably suppressing the nausea of my morning sickness. Seeing the Emperor show me unexpected pity, Jade Lu grew even more frantic to condemn me, exclaiming loudly, "Emperor, that day at Xining Monastery, my sister secretly met with another man and conceived this child. There are witnesses." Before she could finish, Emperor Adrian abruptly cut her off. "You kneel when addressing me." Jade Lu froze. "Emperor, are you ordering me to kneel? Is there a reason you cannot?" "That's not what I meant. But Emperor, if you wish to accuse, you must kneel before your sovereign. Otherwise, it violates propriety." Jade Lu, who believed herself favored, bristled with indignation. Pointing at me, she demanded, "Why does she sit while I must kneel?" "I command you to kneel." Emperor Adrian's voice froze the breath of everyone present. They were abruptly reminded that beneath this seemingly amiable ruler lay countless lives taken by his hand. They recalled the day Emperor Adrian had severed the head of the traitorous Prince Liam and displayed it at the palace gates for 7 days and nights. Some praised Adrian as a savior and enlightened monarch, while others criticized his extreme and cold-blooded methods. Jade Lu suddenly remembered the bloodthirsty cruelty of this jade-faced emperor, her legs giving way as she collapsed to her knees with a thud. As Jade Lu knelt, the storm in Adrian's expression cleared, replaced by a gentle, almost nurturing smile as he even chuckled at her. Now, that's obedience. Adrian's late mother, Consort Lan, had been the most beautiful woman of southern Shu, and he inherited her looks, strikingly handsome, if one ignored his status and methods. Jade Lu feared the Adrian of moments ago, yet found herself effortlessly enchanted by the one before her now. She took the Emperor's smile as coaxing, and her confidence returned. "Your Majesty, on that day, Lu secretly met with an outsider man at Xining Monastery and was witnessed by a monk from the temple. The monk is currently in the capital, awaiting your Majesty's summons." I cast a cold glance at Jade Lu. "Sister, so you've been plotting for a long time, aiming to destroy me today." Jade Lu feigned innocence. "Sister, you've committed a grave crime. As sisters, I cannot stand by and watch you implicate the entire Lu clan. What I did was for the sake of our family and to show loyalty to His Majesty." She put on a righteous act of sacrificing family ties for justice. Before the emperor could speak, the Empress Dowager interjected. The monks of Xining Monastery would never lie. Since there is a witness, bring him forth. Moments later, the monk Shokong was brought before the throne. He chanted a Buddhist invocation and then said, 2 months ago, this humble monk indeed witnessed the young lady of the Liu family meeting privately with an outsider man in a meditation room for several hours. Did the master hear any sounds? Those entangled in worldly desires cannot escape lust. This humble monk heard the licentious sounds of intimate relations between a man and a woman from the room, lasting for several hours. My ears burned. That day Emperor Adrian had gone mad with passion for hours. So, it wasn't impossible someone might have overheard the commotion, yet Emperor Adrian remained composed, as if truly detached from the matter. I retorted, Master, as a monastic, why didn't you withdraw upon hearing such sounds? Shokong replied, Monastics abstain from lust and desire. This humble monk naturally withdrew upon witnessing such acts. I laughed. If you withdrew, how then do you know the sounds lasted for hours? Surely you didn't eavesdrop the entire time, Master? Shokong stammered awkwardly under my questioning. The assembled crowd chuckled quietly, mocking the monk's lack of virtue. From his seat, Emperor Adrian cast me an approving glance, one that seemed to lend me his support. The monk fumbled for an explanation. This humble monk was sweeping outside. The fallen leaves wouldn't clear, so I couldn't leave. Thus I heard everything. I pressed further. Assuming your words are true, tell me this. How could you identify me by sound alone? Monk Shokong said. After finishing the cleaning, this humble monk also saw the young lady leaving the backyard with another man. Both of you carried the scent of incense wood. Baseless accusations, I said calmly from my chair. I could just as well claim that while offering incense at Xining Monastery, I saw you, Master, secretly meeting my sister under a tree, plotting to frame me today. A monk does not speak falsehoods. Shokong presented a jade pendant. This was found afterward by this humble monk in the meditation room. The pendant is carved with a cloud-soaring qilin. My pupils constricted. I remembered clearly that in the chaos that day, I had indeed torn the qilin jade from Emperor Adrian's waist. Later, in my dazed state, the pendant had been lost somewhere, and neither Emperor Adrian nor I had remembered it. Someone present recognized it. This must belong to a man, and only royalty may wear qilin jade. Could the one who met secretly with Luna Liu be of royal blood? But there are few royal descendants left. Aside from His Majesty himself, there's only Prince Noah. With physical evidence now presented, the crowd buzzed with speculation. The Empress Dowager said, I recall that 2 months ago was the memorial ceremony for the late Emperor and Empress. The Emperor and other royal family members all went to Xining Monastery. Abbot Shokong said, although this humble monk only saw the man's back, I could tell he was a tall, upright young man wearing an outer robe embroidered with cloud patterns on plain brocade. The Empress Dowager said, though 2 years have passed since Prince Liam's rebellion, the late Emperor and Empress met tragic ends. The biannual memorial ceremony is akin to a sacrificial rite. Only the Emperor and Imperial princes could wear cloud-patterned plain brocade at such rituals. The late Emperor and Empress were brutally murdered by Prince Liam that day, making the memorial ceremony exceptionally solemn. Emperor Adrian had me conceal this matter precisely because he feared someone might exploit the memorial ceremony to stir trouble. For us to have done such things during such a solemn occasion, once exposed, the Emperor's reputation would be tarnished, and I would certainly face execution. In matters like these, the world would only say, I seduced the Emperor. The woman is always the one condemned to death. Once branded as a seductress who defied propriety, not just I, but the entire Liu family would be held accountable. I looked at Emperor Adrian, who remained composed and indifferent, as if this had nothing to do with him. Of course, how could I expect an emperor who only shared a fleeting romance with me to risk his reputation to save me? Gritting my teeth, I resolved to confess all the sins myself. But just then, the child in my womb stirred violently. In that fleeting moment, Jade Lu cut in. The Empress Dowager is wise. The man who had an affair with my sister is no ordinary person. He is a member of the royal family. That man is... My heart leaped into my throat. Jade Lu was determined to have his way. The one who defiled the emperor's chosen maiden is none other than Prince Noah. I froze. Prince Noah, suddenly named, was also stunned and pointed at himself with his index finger. Me? After Prince Liam's massacre, Prince Noah was Emperor Adrian's only remaining brother. Indeed, Prince Noah had been present at the requiem ceremony in Xining Monastery that day. The monk Shokong insisted firmly, yes, it was Prince Noah that day. At the time, this humble monk did not know Miss Lu was a candidate for the emperor's selection. The Empress Dowager said, the selection list was announced half a year ago. Prince Noah, are you deliberately trying to steal women from your elder brother, the emperor? Prince Noah was 6 years younger than Emperor Adrian, just 19 years old. His birth mother was an unfavored noble consort, and it wasn't until Adrian ascended the throne that Prince Noah's life improved. The Empress Dowager's accusation frightened Prince Noah into repeatedly pleading his innocence. Grandmother, how could you suspect me like this? I was indeed at Xining Monastery that day. In such a setting, had I been in my right mind, I would never have engaged in improper conduct, let alone coveted my brother's woman. The Empress Dowager twirled her prayer beads, her expression one of compassion, but her words were laced with venom. Noah, you are still a prince. During Prince Liam's rebellion, you contributed to quelling it, yet the throne went to Adrian. Do you resent this? Did you conspire with Luna Lu to impregnate her and enter the selection, tainting Adrian's bloodline? In her youth, the Empress Dowager had been the oracle of Western Yan, possessing the ability to divine celestial signs and foresee fortune or calamity. The Grand Empress Dowager was thus deeply favored by the retired emperor, having witnessed 2 successive emperors, both of whom died young, with the retired emperor and the late emperor passing abruptly in their prime. She had once acted as regent during the interim. Though imperial authority now rests entirely in Emperor Adrian's hands, the Grand Empress Dowager still commands considerable prestige. Her decisive pronouncement left Prince Noah flustered and desperate. He pleaded before Emperor Adrian, Your Majesty, believe me, my relationship with Lady Lu is utterly innocent. Emperor Adrian's expression darkened as he fixed Prince Noah with a piercing gaze, his eyes unnervingly intense. I rose from my seat and knelt. Your Majesty, I beg for your discernment. These accusations are baseless. The true culprit seeks to use this humble subject to sow discord between Your Majesty and Prince Noah. Jade Lu pressed her advantage. With witnesses and evidence present, how dare you deny it? Your Majesty, I dare not interfere in Prince Noah's affairs. But how should a palace candidate who seduces a prince be punished? By law, Luna Lu should be granted the silk noose. With Prince Liam as a cautionary example, if Xiao Ming dares to steal a woman from the emperor today, tomorrow he may dare to rebel like Prince Liam to eliminate future troubles. Your Majesty should also grant Xiao Ming a dignified death. Before Emperor Adrian could speak, the Empress Dowager had already made the decision for him. Emperor Adrian said, Grandmother, Xiao Ming is my only surviving blood brother. If he dies too, I will have no true kin left in this world. The Empress Dowager twisted her prayer beads. Emperor, this is your fate. Heaven's will cannot be defied. Every time a prince was born, the Empress Dowager, as the oracle, would divine his destiny. She prophesied that Prince Liam would commit regicide and usurp the throne. And indeed, after coming of age, Prince Liam rebelled and killed the late emperor and empress. She prophesied that the late emperor's princes and princesses would meet untimely ends. And indeed, all 3 princesses perished under Prince Liam's blade during that turmoil. When Emperor Adrian was born, the Empress Dowager also made a prophecy, saying, Adrian, in his days to come, will bring calamity upon his kin and leave no heirs, becoming a solitary star of doom. In her youth, the Empress Dowager had used prophecies to help the previous emperor secure the Great Qi dynasty. and everyone firmly believed in her predictions. Moreover, with the tragic precedent of Prince Liam, everyone was waiting for Emperor Adrian's prophecy to come true. The Empress Dowager commanded, "Guards, take these adulterers away and execute them. Without my decree, who dares move?" Emperor Adrian's words froze the imperial guards in place. "Your Majesty, do you dare defy your grandmother?" This grandson would not dare. "But grandmother, there is something everyone has misunderstood." Emperor Adrian walked up to me, helped me to my feet with both hands, then took my right hand and defiantly declared, "The one who secretly met with Luna Lu at Xening Monastery that day was me." The Empress Dowager nearly tore the prayer beads from her wrist in shock. "What did you say?" I was equally stunned. "Your Majesty?" Had he just admitted it so brazenly, defying all propriety? Emperor Adrian took my hand and presented me before the crowd, with a hint of pride. When I was poisoned and my life hung in the balance, it was Lady Songyue who stepped forward to detoxify me. I lost control that day, causing quite a commotion. Little did I expect a monk overheard everything. Monk Shokong was utterly dumbfounded. Emperor Adrian continued, "The incense wood in the meditation room is the same fragrance I commonly use, and the griffin pendant is one of my personal jade ornaments that went missing days ago. I never expected this pendant to become a tool for you to frame others. How is this possible? What, imperial grandmother? Are you surprised?" Emperor Adrian deliberately turned his gaze toward the utterly stunned Jade Lu. "You must be quite surprised too, aren't you? The adulterer you've been so adamant about capturing today is none other than this emperor. The bastard you keep calling is this emperor's own son. Luna. Lu never lost her chastity, nor did she carry any bastard child, because the one who has been with her all along was none other than this emperor himself. Why, Your Majesty?" Jade Lu's expression went blank as she hastily knelt and corrected herself. "No, this humble subject wouldn't dare. This humble subject wouldn't dare." "What are you afraid of?" Jade Lu's voice trembled. "This humble girl dares not call the emperor an adulterer. Since there is no adulterer, your elder sister is naturally innocent. Do you admit this?" "I admit it. I admit it." Emperor Adrian used the edge of the jade pendant to lift Jade Lu's chin, his tone gentle yet chilling. "This isn't your only crime, is it?" Jade Lu's lips turned pale with fear. What else?" "The grave crime of falsely claiming credit for saving the emperor's life. You haven't confessed to that yet." Jade Lu's face filled with despair as she mustered the courage to argue. "So the emperor's life-saving grace refers to my sister. This humble girl didn't know. I never intended to falsely claim it. It was Your Majesty who kept bestowing gifts upon me these past 2 months. That's why I misunderstood Your Majesty's intentions and falsely took credit. And even if it was my sister who saved Your Majesty, so what?" Jade Lu wiped away her tears and pointed at me resentfully. "She just happened to be in the meditation room when His Majesty was there that day. If it had been me instead, I would have been the one who saved His Majesty. Sister merely got lucky. She was just pandering to him. What great merit is that in saving the emperor? If it were me, I could have done far better." Jade Lu obsessively accused me. "How noisy," Emperor Adrian said impatiently. "She's been yammering in my ear all day. Guards, cut out her tongue." Startled, I quickly interjected, "Your Majesty, keeping her tongue may still be of use." When his gaze turned to me, the defiance on Emperor Adrian's face softened. He raised his hand to caress my cheek. "Very well, then it shall be as you say." Only then did the crowd realize who the new emperor truly favored. Those who had backed the wrong side earlier knelt trembling on the ground. The Empress Dowager was furious. "Emperor, have you lost your mind? How dare you commit such unfilial and disloyal acts in a temple during the memorial rites for the late emperor and empress?" "Unfilial and disloyal?" Emperor Adrian burst into laughter. "If not for me, the late emperor and empress would have been dumped in a mass grave by Prince Liam long ago. It was I who led troops back to the capital to quell the rebellion. I who executed the traitors to restore peace to Daki. The late emperor and empress should be thanking me from their graves. Performing requiem rites for them already demonstrates utmost loyalty and filial piety. Besides, does the Grand Empress Dowager truly not know why I lost composure that day? The Grand Empress Dowager's expression stiffened. There are very few in all of Daki who could drug me during a requiem ceremony. Wouldn't you agree, grandmother? The Grand Empress Dowager twisted her prayer beads violently as Emperor Adrian's hawk-like gaze pinned her. Suddenly, she raised a hand to her forehead, prompting her attendant to rush forward. Her Majesty is unwell. Summon the imperial physician at once. Emperor Adrian sneered. Amidst the banquet's chaos, the monk Shokong beside him suddenly lunged forward, drawing a dagger from his sleeve to strike at Emperor Adrian. Your Majesty, look out! I reacted instantly, throwing myself before Emperor Adrian as a shield. When Shokong's blade was mere inches from my heart, Emperor Adrian seized the monk's wrist, snapping the bones with an audible crack. The dagger clattered to the ground. Meanwhile, the imperial guards immediately tackled and subdued the monk. Though it turned out to be a false alarm, I couldn't catch my breath. My abdomen ached, my body weakened, and darkness clouded my vision as I collapsed. Before losing consciousness, I only felt Emperor Adrian scoop me into his arms, shouting urgently, "Dr. Evelyn." When I awoke again, I was lying in a palace chamber, just in time to hear Dr. Evelyn say, "Congratulations, Your Majesty, Lady Song Yue is 2 months pregnant." Emperor Adrian gasped in delight. Truly? Seeing me stir, he personally helped me sit up. Yet, when I studied his face, shock outweighed joy. Did His Majesty not welcome this child? No, that's not it, Emperor Adrian hurriedly explained. But wasn't I fated to be heirless? The Empress Dowager's prophecy had decreed he would bring misfortune upon kin and die without offspring. Your Majesty, I pressed his hand against my belly, the warmth seeping into his palm as his gaze softened like still water. I thought you were merely acting to help me lure out those conspirators. Everything at today's royal banquet, from my sister's accusation onward, unfolded exactly as Emperor Adrian and I had anticipated. That day, at Xining Monastery, Emperor Adrian actually regained his sobriety quite quickly. The toxin dissipated completely after being expelled. Emperor Adrian was neither deaf nor blind. He saw through the schemer's intentions at once. This poison wasn't meant to kill me. I only lost consciousness after burning the incense Prince Ning handed me. If I'm not mistaken, the aphrodisiac in those incense sticks was originally meant for the prince himself. Today was the memorial ceremony for the late emperor and empress. Xining Monastery had cleared all common worshippers. Yet you alone were permitted to pray in the meditation chamber. Someone clearly intended to throw you together with Prince Ning, though merely a candidate. You're nominally my woman from registration until the selection concludes. Prince Ning is my only brother. Had that fool actually violated you today, you'd be guilty of adultery, while he'd bear the infamy of coveting his sovereign's woman. Someone sought to exploit matters between men and women to sow discord among the imperial brothers, turning the royal household upside down. Emperor Adrian said to me solemnly, "Lady Song Yue, you are innocent. There's no need for alarm. Today, I have wronged you, and I will surely give you an explanation. Now, I must ask you, are you willing to step into this game and help me lure out the mastermind behind it all?" From the moment I recognized Adrian as the emperor and was deflowered by him, I knew I had no choice. Adrian would undoubtedly choose me as his consort, but as Jade Lu had said, everything today was merely a coincidence. Had it been the Lin family's maiden, the He family's maiden, or even Jade Lu, who came to the temple today, they would likely have made the same choice upon recognizing Adrian's identity. Adrian was a young and astute ruler. I had to make him see that I was not just a fleeting romance. I could also be his strategist, his finest ally. I needed him to recognize my worth. Otherwise, a woman from a fourth-rank family like mine, even if admitted to the palace, might never secure a promising future. Thus, no matter how others pressed and provoked me at today's royal banquet, I could endure it silently to maintain the greater scheme of this chess game. Thus, when the monk Shokong suddenly attempted assassination, I did not hesitate to shield the emperor with my own body. I wanted Emperor Adrian to know that I was willing to die for him. I wanted to turn this accidental union into genuine mutual devotion. Of course, Emperor Adrian would never let me die. Not to mention this happened right under the noses of the imperial guards in the palace. Emperor Adrian was, after all, a brave and battle-hardened ruler. He would never allow me to be harmed. All I needed was to demonstrate to him my unwavering resolve to protect him. Only then could Emperor Adrian and I transform from fleeting lovers into life and death partners. Only then, after entering the palace, could I become an eternally favored consort, or even the empress. Rest assured, Your Majesty, Lady Songyue's pregnancy is progressing very well. Today's fainting spell was due to standing too long in the wind and the shock she endured. After taking medicine and resting for 2 days, she will recover fully. Physician Su was also one of Emperor Adrian's people. Emperor Adrian had anticipated today's chastity seal dilemma and had Dr. Evelyn prepare a solution in advance. The chastity seal could indeed disappear for various reasons. Having witnessed too many palace maids wrongfully executed over this matter, Dr. Evelyn seized this opportunity to make everyone understand. The chastity seal does not equate to a woman's virtue. Noticing my pallor midway through the banquet, Dr. Evelyn also prepared a scented sachet hung on my chair to alleviate my morning sickness. Despite all preparations, Emperor Adrian's aloofness and unpredictable mood during the royal banquet still left me shaken. Did I frighten you? Emperor Adrian was painfully self-aware. I shot him a reproachful glance. Prince Noah interjected, "Sister-in-law, don't be afraid. My royal brother has always been like this since childhood. That's why he has no women around him, even as emperor. Don't be angry with him. This was actually my fault. That day, at Xening Monastery, I carelessly fell into the koi pond while playing, which led my brother to mistakenly take my incense and fall into the trap. Though the process was fraught with twists and turns, the outcome was serendipitous. His Majesty truly adores you. Sister-in-law, I couldn't help but correct him. I dare not accept your highness's address as sister-in-law. You deserve it. Emperor Adrian declared, by imperial decree, Luna Lu of the Lu family, pure-hearted and courageous, has rendered meritorious service in saving the throne. She is hereby conferred the title of noble consort, second rank. I gasped, Your Majesty, today's misfortunes were undeserved for you. Consider this our compensation to you and our child. Moreover, since the events at the temple cannot be concealed, I shall use an exalted rank to silence the world's gossip. Let them know you did not transgress propriety, but acted heroically to save the throne. Indeed, indulging in intimacy at a temple, even with just cause, would inevitably invite censure over time, with critics branding me as lacking feminine virtue. Just as Emperor Adrian's execution of Prince Liam, though a righteous correction, eventually drew quiet condemnation from scholars for his extreme disregard of brotherly bonds, Emperor Adrian sought to wield imperial authority to shield me from public scorn, though in truth, he cared little for his own royal reputation. After the decree to confer the imperial consort title was issued, Emperor Adrian issued a second edict. The monk Shokong attempted assassination before the emperor. Investigate thoroughly the backgrounds of all monks at Xening Monastery. Only the monks of Xening Monastery could have drugged the incense and arranged for my entry into the temple and the meditation room on such a critical day. The monk may not be a true monk, but rather remnants of Prince Liam's faction hiding among them. As for the others involved today, those who falsely accused my virtuous consort and disturbed the imperial heir's fetal chi, the masterminds shall all face execution. The one who stirred the most trouble in this matter was Jade Lu. Jade Lu, who had narrowly escaped tongue removal, was terrified upon hearing the decree. She tearfully pleaded before me, Sister, I was wrong. Please beg His Majesty for mercy. I am your half-sister, sharing the same father. Our fates are intertwined. If I fall, it shames you too. Our fates are intertwined. Dear sister, How laughable those words sound coming from you. For your own glory, you schemed to destroy me. Where was this sisterly bond then? If you disregard your family will disregard you in return. Jade Lu flushed with shame at my words. Cornered and desperate, she mustered her courage and suddenly lashed out at Emperor Adrian. It's all your fault. I never had these delusions before. You were the one who sent me those gifts. You made me believe the exalted emperor could ever favor a lowly concubine-born girl like me. Your Majesty, every sin I've committed today was forced upon me by you. You stoked my ambition and greed. I merely fought for what I desired. What wrong have I done? You, the Son of Heaven, deceived me. What right do you have to judge me now? Jade Lu had indeed been a pawn in Emperor Adrian's scheme. After sending me back to the Lu residence that day, he deliberately sent royal gifts to Jade Lu in the palace's name at intervals to maintain appearances. Half a month later, someone approached Jade Lu and promised her, if she exposed the illicit affair between Prince Ning and Luna Lu at the royal banquet, she would be elevated to the Lu family's legitimate daughter, favored by the emperor as his consort, and with that status and his affection, becoming empress would be within reach. Every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. Jade Lu gambled for her future, unaware that the one sitting across the table was the emperor himself. The more she demanded, the more miserably she lost. After venting her rage and resentment, Jade Lu collapsed to the floor, her shoulders shaking with sobs. Emperor Adrian merely watched her coldly, as if observing a discarded chess piece. I stepped forward and handed her a handkerchief. If you wish to live, tell me who persuaded you to do these things. Jade Lu's tear-streaked face froze in surprise. I don't believe you could have found the monks of Xining Monastery on your own, nor do I think you'd dare to accuse me before the emperor without backing. Who was supporting you? Jade Lu bit her lower lip. If you refuse to speak, even I cannot save you. As I turned to leave, Jade Lu clutched at my skirt. I'll talk. It was the Empress Dowager. She ordered me to do this. Otherwise, how would I dare cause such a scene at the royal banquet? Jade Lu revealed everything she knew. Shao Chun remained silent. He had already guessed everything, but the Empress Dowager, having lived through 2 reigns, was as shrewd as a fox. Emperor Adrian, newly enthroned, could not easily punish her. The emperor commuted Jade Lu's death sentence to lifelong confinement. It was still a severe punishment, but compared to tongue removal or execution, it was already an act of mercy. Jade Lu collapsed in despair as she was dragged away. Next, it was my maid, Jade, who knelt before me, begging for mercy. Miss, I was wrong. I was deceived by second Miss too. If you can forgive her, please forgive me as well. I'll never dare again. Jade tried to appeal to the bond we had shared over the years. I asked her coldly, Jade Lu is my own sister. What are you? I treated you well all these years, and in my moment of crisis, your repayment was to betray me? Drag her away. Don't let her blood stain me. Jade screamed in terror, but it stirred no pity in me. The eunuch who falsely accused me before the emperor was also executed. As for the noble ladies who took advantage of Jade Lu's false accusations to kick me while I was down during the banquet, though they escaped severe punishment, they would find it difficult to marry into high status for the rest of their lives. Soon, the imperial guards followed the trail of the monk Shou Kong and uncovered over a dozen fake monks at Xining Monastery. These were all remnants of Prince Liam's faction. Though capable, their influence could never reach the emperor's inner circle. The emperor pressed them for the mastermind behind the plot, but they would rather die than submit. No matter how harsh the torture, they refused to reveal any other conspirators. Emperor Adrian had no choice but to order their execution. Before death, these monks faced their fate fearlessly, shouting, "Long live Prince Liam." Witnessing the scene, I was deeply shocked and couldn't help but ask, what kind of man was Prince Liam? I consider myself a lenient person, yet I couldn't even control a servant like Jade, who betrayed me at the critical moment. Prince Liam, a mere rebel, had such loyal followers even 2 years after his death. Emperor Adrian remained silent for a long while. Realizing my impropriety, I was about to apologize when he suddenly said, My elder brother was a good man. Elder brother? Your Majesty still refers to him as such? Even after I severed his head, I never denied that he was my brother. In Adrian's memory, Prince Liam had been a good elder brother. Prince Liam was the son of Consort Da, once a favored prince who received the late emperor's attention. But at the age of 8, the Empress Dowager prophesied over him. Liam will one day commit regicide and usurp the throne, only to be abandoned by all. Because of this prophecy, the late emperor's attitude toward Liam turned cold overnight. The palace staff followed suit, treating him differently. If these were merely covert slights, they wouldn't have driven a man to madness. The year after the prophecy, Consort passed away on a rainy night, with only young Prince Liam by her side. The late emperor accused him of delaying his mother's treatment and cursed him as an ill omen who brought death upon his own parent. Having lost his mother and fallen out of his father's favor, Shao Yu gradually became isolated from the other imperial princes and princesses in the palace. The third princess, fifth prince, and seventh prince even began to bully Shao Yu. The third princess deliberately fell into the water, accusing Shao Yu of pushing her, which led to him being confined by the emperor for 30 days. The fifth prince and seventh prince conspired to set a trap during a hunt, causing 10-year-old Shao Yu to fall from his warhorse, breaking a leg and disfiguring his face. The late emperor did not reprimand the 3 royal siblings, but completely abandoned Shao Yu, granting him a remote fiefdom and making him an insignificant prince. Shao Yu left for his fief at the age of 14, and 9-year-old Emperor Adrian went to see him off. Though Shao Yu was then in a wretched state, he bore no resentment. Instead, it was Emperor Adrian who seethed with indignation. They were clearly in the wrong. Shao Yu comforted him in return. Father only fears the prophecy tied to me. If my departure brings peace to him and my siblings, I accept my fate. Hearing this, I finally understood why Emperor Adrian would say Prince Liam was a rather good man. An ordinary man would have cursed fate's injustice and sought mad revenge by this point. What drove Prince Liam to commit such extreme acts later? Emperor Adrian sighed softly and said, "My elder brother went his fiefdom in North River and lived peacefully for years. He married a princess consort willing to share both joy and hardship, and they bore twin heirs. Though North River was once barren, the people prospered after his arrival. All was well until our father suddenly grew fearful of the prophecy. He feared an adult Prince Liam would eventually storm the imperial city, as foretold, committing regicide and usurping the throne. So, our father fabricated charges and, on Prince Liam's birthday, presented poisoned wine as a gift. Unexpectedly, the princess consort drank it by mistake. She died bleeding from all orifices, and the 3-year-old twin heirs perished too after eating poison pastries. For 20 years, my royal brother endured the loss of his mother, his wife, and his children, with a father who was absent in all but name. His siblings took pleasure in tormenting him until, driven to madness, he rallied the people of North River to his cause, rebelled, and marched his army all the way to the imperial capital. Storming the palace, he slaughtered the reigning emperor and empress, drowned the third princess, who had once tormented him, in the very lotus pond of their childhood, and executed the fifth and seventh princes, one by flaying his face, the other by dismemberment. By the end, the only remaining members of the imperial family were myself, stationed at the distant border, and Prince Noah Xiaoming, who had hidden away. Half the court officials had also been massacred. In those days, terror gripped the land. Everyone believed the great Qi dynasty would fall to Prince Liam. It wasn't until Emperor Adrian rushed back with his border troops that he realized, standing amidst the corpses of the emperor and his ministers, he could no longer protect Shao Yu. On the day of Shao Yu's defeat, his eyes bloodshot, he glared at Emperor Adrian and warned him, "Remember this. Your father, your mother, your royal siblings, they all died by my hand because you returned too late. The prophecy upon me has come true. Adrian, you too cannot escape your destined fate." With those words, Liam drew his sword and slit his own throat. The throne stood right beside him. Yet he never once glanced at it until death took him. Perhaps what he truly desired was never imperial power, but the prophecy claimed he would slay the sovereign and usurp the throne. Everyone presumed him a traitor, treating him with such cruelty that they drove him to madness. Didn't you notice those fake monks all spoke with North River accents? The people of North River revered Prince Liam as their rightful lord. Though I understood my brother's plight, he had spilled too much blood. To stabilize the realm, his head had to be severed to quell his loyalist rebels. 7 days later, his head was retrieved, sewn back to his body, and buried in secret. Adrian suddenly asked me, "Do you also think my actions were excessively cruel?" So this was the truth behind it all. Once, like everyone else, I despised Prince Liam as a treasonous villain. Now, I could only sigh in sorrow for him. Adrian carried deep guilt over this. I softened my voice to comfort him. Showing mercy to your brothers is your majesty's benevolence, while displaying their severed heads is your method. A ruler must embody benevolence, loyalty, and filial piety, yet must also wield decisive power. Few could have handled this better than your majesty. Emperor Adrian was deeply moved and grasped my hand. Songyue, you always understand me. Has your majesty ever considered that all these tragedies stem from Empress Dowager's prophecy? Of course, Emperor Adrian had suspected as much, but he himself bore another prophecy. Though I do not believe in supernatural forces, Empress Dowager's prophecies have indeed come true over the past 50 years. Uneasy, he embraced me from behind, caressing my slightly rounded belly. The prophecy says I will bring misfortune upon my kin and leave no heirs. He seemed to resolve himself. I will never let harm come to you or our child. At this stage, selecting concubines is merely a formality. Before formally entering the palace as a consort, I returned to the Liu residence, as if awaiting marriage. Jade Liu's birth mother, Madame Rose, tearfully begged me to spare her daughter. Madame Rose, everyone must bear the consequences of their missteps. Jade Liu is merely under confinement now, but if you persist in your folly, you may well cost her life. Madame Rose first came to our doorstep with child while my mother was still in her postpartum confinement. A former songstress, my mother refused to share a husband with a woman of the pleasure quarters. So Madame Rose made a daily spectacle at the Liu residence, her swollen belly on display, until the distress caused my mother to hemorrhage and fall gravely ill, forcing her to relent. Thus Madame Rose entered our household, and a year later, Jade Liu was born. My half-sister, the maid Jade by my side, was turned against me by Madame Rose's schemes. To claim Madame Rose is innocent would be laughable. Madame Rose knew she could hide nothing from me now. Her guilt laid bare. You will petition for a letter of divorce and leave the Liu family, lest I show no mercy. Once, my father would never have dismissed his beloved Madame Rose. But now Jade Liu is condemned to lifelong confinement, her future ruined, while I ascend to the imperial harem. My father now reads his fortunes in my face. Father divorced Madame Rose and treated my mother even better. I recuperated in the manor for 3 days. During this time, the families whose daughters had kicked me while I was down at the royal banquet took turns bringing gifts to apologize on their behalf. I refused to see any of them. Soon, the auspicious day for entering the palace arrived. I bid farewell to my parents and boarded the ornate palanquin. Upon passing through the palace gates, I saw the emperor's chief eunuch, Gao, stepping forward to guide me. The emperor awaits your presence at Tranquil Hall. My lady, please follow this humble servant. On the way to Tranquil Hall, my maidservants and guards silently dispersed without a trace. By the time I entered Tranquil Hall, I was completely alone. The hall held no emperor, only the Empress Dowager and 2 matrons. Sensing something amiss, I turned to leave, but the hall doors were barred from the outside. The Empress Dowager fixed her gaze on my abdomen. The bastard in your womb was conceived through illicit union with the emperor during the Requiem rites. Its birth would invite universal condemnation. Only your death, along with the child, can preserve the emperor's glorious reputation. I shielded my belly. The emperor's glory needs no sacrifice of women to uphold. The child I carry is His Majesty's only bloodline now. bloodline?" The Empress Dowager sneered. "Emperor Adrian is fated to be heirless and bring misfortune to his kin. He will never have a child in this lifetime." "Does the Empress Dowager intend to make me a corpse with my unborn child, just to fulfill her prophecy of the Emperor's heirless fate? Tell me, is this so-called destiny heaven's will, or one you've decreed for His Majesty yourself?" Stung by my words, the Empress Dowager motioned to two matrons, who advanced with a silk noose in hand. Fingering her prayer beads, she said coldly, "Once you're dead, I shall announce to the realm that Lady Lu, after illicitly conceiving the Emperor's child in a temple, took her own life out of shame. I see Adrian truly favors you. Your death will crush his spirit, convincing him he is cursed to be heirless, and thus his line shall end." Was it not the same tactic the Empress Dowager used to eliminate Prince Liam and the other imperial princes and princesses? The Empress Dowager's hand, holding the prayer beads, paused, and I knew I had guessed right. I heard that after every prince and princess turns 8, the Empress Dowager privately reads their fates. You told an 8-year-old Prince Liam that he would one day commit regicide and usurp the throne. If I'm not mistaken, your prophecy for the 3rd princess and the other princes was they would die at Prince Liam's hands upon reaching adulthood. Young children, barely old enough to understand, were terrified by such horrifying prophecies from their most revered grandmother, especially since you bore the title of Oracle. Fear took root in their hearts, twisting into malice as they desperately sought self-preservation through extreme measures. They tormented Prince Liam, pushing him into a corner until, just as foretold, he rebelled and seized the throne by force. Prince Liam was born of Consorta, a prodigy and arguably the late Emperor's most outstanding son. Yet you, his grandmother, showed him no love, only sought his ruin. The prophecy you gave to Adrian was the same. You said he would sever family ties and leave no heirs, which led the late Emperor to neglect him as a prince. That day, at Zening Monastery, you originally intended to trap Prince Noah and me, then have Jade Lu expose it at the royal banquet. Once Prince Noah was proven to have an affair with a court maiden, with Prince Liam's precedent in mind, Adrian would likely sentence him to death. With Prince Noah dead, Adrian would have no blood relatives left in this world, perfectly fulfilling the prophecy that he would bring ruin to his kin. Once even half the prophecy came true, Adrian would believe he was doomed to leave no heirs. Empress Dowager, what you call a prophecy is actually a curse, isn't it? The aged Empress Dowager's face twisted into a grotesque smile of admiration for me. What a clever girl. The trap I laid had the imperial family of Adrian fooled, yet you saw through it at a glance. By then, the silk noose was already coiled around my neck. One tug, and both my unborn child and I would be dead, facing someone about to die. The Empress Dowager seemed to have found a willing listener. Back then, Shaolin Shan and I fell in love at first sight at the border. As the Oracle, I helped him seize the throne. Yet after his ascension, consumed by suspicion, he annihilated my entire Westernian clan, blaming it on a snow disaster. Claiming it was heaven's will that Westernian perish. Shaolin Shan was Emperor Adrian's grandfather, the former Grand Emperor. I never exposed his lies. The moment Westernian fell, I poisoned the only child we shared. Then I played the fool, remaining his favored consort until his death, after which I became the Empress Dowager. All admired the grace of my youth as the Oracle. Nobles and royals sought prophecies of the future from me, but none knew that the moment Western Yan was destroyed, every word I spoke became a curse. I cursed Shaolin Shan's son to die in his prime. I cursed Xiao Yu, the most brilliant prince of the Xiao line, to be betrayed and abandoned. I cursed every last one of them. May the entire Xiao imperial clan meet wretched ends. Only then will my vengeance for Western Yan's ruin be fulfilled. The Empress Dowager was an elderly woman in her 60s, but when hatred burned in her eyes, one could still glimpse the beauty and allure of her youth. Those poor children, they called me Grand Imperial Mother at my knees, adored me, believed every word I said, until their dying breath. They never knew that beneath the prophecy lay a curse, one potent enough to turn siblings against each other. Emperor Adrian will be no exception. Once you're dead, I'll make him execute Prince Ning with his own hands. Then, he'll have no choice but to accept his fate of severing all familial ties and ending his bloodline. Do it. Just because this clever girl has wits doesn't mean I'll show mercy. The bastard child of the Shao bloodline in her womb must not live. The silk noose tightened abruptly. Just as my life hung by a thread, the doors of Tranquil Hall were suddenly kicked open from outside. A sword severed both ends of the noose. My neck was abruptly freed as I was pulled into a warm embrace. Your Majesty, Emperor Adrian had arrived just in time, or rather, he had been waiting outside the hall all along. Did your Majesty hear everything? Every word. Emperor Adrian was ensnared by the prophecy, whose origins lay with the Empress Dowager. Thus, I deliberately walked into the Empress Dowager's trap, allowing Emperor Adrian to hear with his own ears the truth of all these years. Grandmother, 50 years have passed. Do you still harbor such hatred? The Empress Dowager toyed with the prayer beads in her hand. This strand holds 18 beads, each representing a royal life. For every person led astray by the prophecy to their death, another bead is added to my collection. The two largest among them, one belonged to the late Grand Emperor, the other to the late Emperor. One was my husband, the other his most outstanding son. Day after day, they suffer beneath my fingers. Suddenly, she smiled at Emperor Adrian with grandmotherly tenderness. Dear grandson, weren't you curious about the scripture I recite daily? It's a Western Yin curse. I chant it day and night, praying that the Shao lineage will never find peace in the afterlife. Pity, you and Prince Ning were destined never to join this strand of beads. With a sudden jerk, she snapped the prayer beads apart and cast a feeble, icy smile at Emperor Adrian. You should thank Luna Lu, for she saved you. Otherwise, you and Shao Yu would have been nothing more than another Prince Liam in my hands. Emperor Adrian could not hold the Empress Dowager accountable, for doing so would violate filial piety and invite public condemnation, nor could he expose such a royal scandal to the world, lest it be condemned in the annals of history. The Empress Dowager suffered from a heart condition. Dr. Evelyn was actually a physician Prince Liam had sought out from the common folk to treat her ailment. Upon hearing this, the Empress Dowager only sneered, tears in her eyes as she cursed Prince Liam for his foolishness. Emperor Adrian declared solemnly, promote Dr. Evelyn to head of the Imperial Hospital and assign her to tend to my consort Shu's pregnancy. She need no longer concern herself with the affairs of Longevity Palace. Without Dr. Evelyn's care, the Empress Dowager's days were predictably numbered. Prince Noah wished to plead for his grandmother's mercy, but in the end, he remained silent. I asked him, did the Empress Dowager say those same words to you back then? Prince Noah replied, she did. She said Prince Liam was a cursed loner, and that I would die by his hand. The Empress Dowager had said the same to the third princess, fifth prince, and seventh prince. Filled with dread, they grew to fear Prince Liam so intensely that they schemed to banish him from the imperial capital. In a way, they were protecting themselves, for the Empress Dowager's prophecies always came true. Then, Your Highness, aren't you afraid? Of course I am, but Prince Liam often gave me sweets, and when father scolded me for being foolish, he was the only one who defended me. How could I punish a brother who treated me so kindly? All for a future that hasn't even happened? Because of this, Shao Ming never took part in the childhood bullying that targeted Prince Liam alone. So, when Prince Liam stormed the palace, Shao Ming became the only prince spared by his blade. I shattered Emperor Adrian's inner demons and was enshrined as noble consort Shu. 8 months later, under physician Su's care, I safely gave birth to a prince. The baby's vigorous cries shattered the curse of Emperor Adrian's airlessness once and for all. I lifted the curse upon Emperor Adrian, and in doing so, rewrote my own fate. On the prince's 1-month celebration, Emperor Adrian issued an edict to make me his empress. During the coronation ceremony, Emperor Adrian held my hand as we received blessings from the officials, while the little crown prince in swaddling clothes giggled joyfully. That day, at Zening Monastery, Emperor Adrian promised he would give me an answer, like phoenixes soaring together, harmonious as zither and lute. This was the answer he gave me.